Picture this, it's embarkation day and you just stepped foot onto your cruise ship. You're filled with excitement and you have an entire floating city to explore. But it's at this very moment where it's easy to become overwhelmed and start your vacation off on the wrong foot. I'm Gary with Optimal Cruising, and unfortunately, I have started off a number of cruises the wrong way. But you're about to learn from my mistakes. In this video, I break down the 10 most important easy things you need to do the first day of your cruise. Number 5 will greatly improve the level of service that you receive. Number 7 has saved many cruisers thousands of dollars. If you follow these tips, you will reduce stress and ensure that your vacation is smooth sailing. Let's get started. Most cruisers are excited to check out their cabin as soon as they get on the ship. However, depending on the time you board, your cruise cabin may not be ready yet. So you can use this time to make any reservations that you weren't able to make prior to your cruise so that you can enjoy the things you want during your cruise. Popular shows and activities, specialty restaurants, and spa treatments, especially during sea days, will tend to book up fast. So this will put you ahead of everybody else if you do it right away. Just turn on that cruise app and start making those reservations, or go to guest services while everybody else is worried about hitting the lunch buffet. And if there's still a little time before your cruise cabin is ready, there's another quick thing you might be able to check off your list. Many cruise lines these days will allow you to complete your muster drill requirement as soon as you get on board. Royal Caribbean is one of these. You just walk right to that muster station and check it off your list, and that way you do not have to worry about it for the rest of the day. The ship cannot leave until everybody completes this task, and some cruise lines still require everybody to do it at the same time, so it really depends on your cruise line. But as soon as you get on board, just ask a staff member if you can do it now and get it taken care of. Now that you've taken care of the easy stuff, these next few items will help ensure that nothing ruins your cruise. On one of my earlier cruises, I was so worried about finding a spot on the pool deck that I didn't even go into my cabin until the ship was out to sea. And I had a problem which, had I discovered earlier, could have probably been fixed immediately, and instead I had to spend the first night of my cruise with no air conditioning. As soon as you have access to your cruise cabin, check everything. Start with the air conditioning. What you want to do is turn it down as low as it will go and see if the room starts to cool off. You can even put your hand up by the vents and feel the air that's coming through. Because if it's not cooling or it's not even blowing, you could have a problem. And you want to address this right away. Problems with your cabin are much more likely to get fixed if you report them early. For 2 reasons. You're getting in front of the line for any problems that they have to fix on the ship. And if there are available cabins and the ship is not fully booked, you're also in the front of the line for getting moved to another cabin if the problem cannot be fixed. In my case, I didn't even realize the air conditioner was not cooling down the cabin until 8 or 9 at night, at which time there were many other people's problems being worked on before mine, and mine didn't end up getting fixed until the next day. Once you've checked the AC, make sure everything else in your cabin is functioning properly. If you have a balcony cabin, always check the sliding door between your room and the balcony. You want to make sure it opens and closes and locks properly. Otherwise, you could be prone to hearing noises at night, and it could impact whether or not your AC actually comes on. Turn on everything. Make sure all of your lights come on and work. Make sure your TV turns on. Check your refrigerator or minibar. Make sure it's on and cold inside so that you don't have to deal with a problem mid-cruise. Check the bathroom and make sure the toilet flushes and the sink drains properly. These are both issues I've run into, and they can be easily fixed quickly if reported early. Then you'll want to check and make sure you can get soap and shampoo out of the dispensers. Most cruise cabins these days have liquid dispensers. Sometimes the cabin attendants forget to fill them, so check that out as well. And then if you or somebody in your cabin uses a hairdryer, make sure that the hairdryer left in your cabin turns on properly, because now would be the time to ask for a replacement before everybody else. Now that you know everything is functioning in your cabin, you won't want to open your luggage until you follow this next tip. But first, I'd really like to know what you do as soon as you board your cruise. Drop it in the comments below. Two things really freak me out about cruise cabins. One is bed bugs, and two is germs. So the truth is, you really don't know who was in that cabin the week before. And while everything looks clean and cabin stewards do a great job turning over all these cabins in a single day, there's possibly some areas missed. So we always bring some Lysol disinfectant wipes on board with us and wipe down all the main surfaces that we're going to use, including the phone, the remote control, so that we reduce the risk of picking up any germs. And then we check for bed bugs. So there's two easy ways to check for bed bugs. One is pull the sheets back, and if you notice any black dots, that could be an indication. Another is to get a flashlight or use the flashlight on your phone, pull the mattress back and look for any movement under there. If you see anything moving or fluttering around, you probably have bed bugs. If you find anything, report it immediately, and then do this next step to greatly improve the service you receive during your cruise. There is one person that can greatly improve the quality of your entire cruise, and that is your cabin steward. And you can do these two things to make sure you get the best service from him or her. First, you want to introduce yourself to your cabin steward. A simple hello goes a long way, and you can always find these guys working in the hallway near your stateroom. These guys do a lot more than clean your room. They make your cabin your home away from home for the next week or so. So you want to introduce yourself and learn their name, and that's a perfect opportunity to make any special requests you have before they start getting slammed with requests from all the other people. Things like asking to always have fresh ice in your room, if you need more hangers for your closet, if you'd like all of the things in the minibar removed so you can use that space in the fridge for your own personal things. Your cabin steward can do all of this and more. If your bed configuration isn't right, for example, if you have a king bed set up in there but you need two beds, let him know. He'll have it fixed by the evening. If you need extra pillows or towels, let him know. He'll deliver them to your room. If you need a mattress topper, let him know. As long as you're early, you're likely to get one. And this is a perfect opportunity to find out about his schedule, because on some cruise lines, the cabin attendants will clean once a day. And in that case, you'll have an option to have your cabin cleaned in the morning or the evening. So let him know what your preference is, and since you're there early, you're likely to get that. Now, if they're cleaning twice a day, you still want to know his schedule so you know when he's going to be around and where you can go to find him if you need anything else during your cruise. Now, we always like to give our cabin steward a little tip on the first day because it indicates to him that we'll be giving him cash tips and not just the prepaid gratuities that don't go directly to him. It can be a really great way to set the tone, although totally not necessary. Now, once you've taken care of meeting your cabin steward, make sure you know that you have a safe place to put your valuables. When I first started cruising, I ran into a cabin once where the safe in the room was closed, locked, and I could not for the life of me figure out how to get it open. So I went the whole cruise without locking up my valuables. That could have been a big mistake. Now, when you check out the safe in your room, it's usually hidden in a cabinet somewhere. You want to make sure it's operational and functional, because if not, you need to have that addressed right away. Sometimes it will be locked because the previous guests just locked it when they left and you don't know what their code was to open it, but it's no big deal. The cabin steward can get right into it, and then you set your own code. And you want to test this out before you put anything in it. Set a code, lock it, type in that same code to open it, just to make sure it's working properly. And then we always put all of our documents, passports, anything else in there, and all of our cash and credit cards. We just keep them in there and take them out when we need them for port days or tips or things like that. Another thing we like to do is put our keys in there, our house keys, car keys, because when we first started cruising, we just leave them in a backpack, in a pocket somewhere, and then we kind of forget by the end of the cruise and be fumbling around to find these things when we needed them. Now we just put them in the safe, and that way when we're ready to leave the cruise, we've got them in our pockets. Now, if these tips have saved you a little time or money so far, make sure you subscribe to our channel so you get all of our cruising updates. Now, let's get your phone properly set up. We have heard some horror stories from fellow passengers who did not properly set up their phone once they got on the ship, and you want to do this really before you leave the dock. There's two big things. One is put your phone on airplane mode, and this is because once you're at sea, if you're not in airplane mode, your phone could automatically latch on to the ship's cellular network or a network at a port of call that you don't have access to without roaming charges, and that could lead to a big bill that you don't expect. There are many documented cases of passengers who didn't do this properly and got huge bills when they got back home. The next thing you need to do is connect to the ship's Wi-Fi. And you don't have to have purchased any internet package to do this. It's absolutely free, and it will allow the app on your phone for the cruise line to work properly. So you can make reservations, get show times, get the daily activities, all for no cost to you. Now, if you did purchase an internet package, when you connect to the ship's Wi-Fi, you'll be able to activate that package on your device. And even if you didn't purchase one and you would like to, just by connecting to the ship's Wi-Fi, you can purchase it while you're on the ship. It won't be too long until your ship's at sea, so let's take some precautions for seasickness. Now, I've been on cruises before with family members who got seasick, and it can really put a damper on the entire vacation for everybody in your party. So we're going to go over a couple precautions, easy things you can do to try to prevent this. First, there is one little patch that literally saves thousands of vacations for people every day. It's those scopolamine patches you see people wear behind their ear. You need to put this on before your ship leaves so the medicine starts to activate a little bit, and these are prescription. So you need to get a prescription from your doctor, but it's very easy to get, and they've worked for almost everybody that I've seen wear them. If you prefer to take oral medications like Bonine or Dramamine, make sure you take it at least an hour before that ship leaves so it gets into your system and you don't start to feel the effects of the rocking motion when that ship first gets at sea. Now, there is something we like to do as soon as our luggage arrives, but it may not be there when you're first on the ship. So before we get to that, let's talk about exploring the ship. So when I go on a cruise, I love to do things at times when the masses are not doing them. For me, that's a huge win. And on Embarkation Day, It's huge chaos. Everybody's rushing to that buffet to get that first meal on board the ship. That's the perfect opportunity for me to start exploring the ship, because I like to go deck by deck and just walk it. I'm just taking note of what's there. Now, there's going to be things I knew about, but there's going to be things I didn't know about. And I'm putting in my head a plan for how I want to manage my vacation. This is a great way to get a priority list of things to do on your cruise, especially if you're on a short cruise on a mega ship. You're not going to have time to do everything. So figure out where things are that you want to do, what they cost if there's an upcharge, and if you have to make a reservation, do it now. Be the first one. And by doing this, you might just discover that perfect spot to sit or take pictures at during sail away. Now, don't miss this last tip for as soon as your luggage arrives to your stateroom. I don't know about you, but I hate living out of a suitcase. So as soon as my luggage arrives, I like to unpack. Now you might think, well, these cruise cabins are small. Where am I going to put everything? But you'd be surprised at how much space there is in drawers, closets, even in bathroom vanities that you can put your stuff. So I hang up all my clothes that need hanging. I put everything else away in drawers. I set up my electronics. I put my toiletries in a spot. That way, everything's where I need it for my entire cruise, and I can take that big suitcase and slide it right under the bed. This will work in 99% of the cases. Even if you have a huge suitcase, you might even just have to lift that bed up a little bit to get it underneath, but once you get it underneath the metal frame, it'll fall right on top of it. This can really help to declutter your room by getting rid of those big bags and suitcases and putting them out of the way. And one other tip I do is I set up a laundry bag. So this is something I bring. You can find vinyl zippable laundry bags on Amazon for a few dollars. And I put that on the floor in my closet, and that's where I'm going to throw all my clothes that I'm going to take home and wash later. It keeps things organized, keeps the clean away from the dirty, and just makes your entire cruise a more rewarding experience. So now that you're ready to get your cruise off to a great start, did you know that many cruisers overpay for some of the extras offered on board cruise ships? I'm going to tell you all about these ripoffs and how to avoid them right here.